So, good evening. This evening, we are going to be talking about the calories in, calories out model of weight loss. This is something that most people are very, very familiar with because if you have ever talked weight loss with a medical professional, more likely than not, the recommendation they have given you is eat less, work out more. And if you would, if you're watching in the comments, drop it in the chat. Just leave a one if you've ever been told by a doctor that you need to eat less and work out more. Um, I think it's something that's very common within the VA. I know that's one of the common themes that they go with, and it's not great advice. There's about 100 years of science behind that. So I want to touch on that tonight. Last week we talked about the AIP I said autoimmune protocol diet. Um, this week Wayne mentioned that he's in Tennessee, I believe, and with his travels after 15 hours, he's hurting. Inflammation is something that we fuel with our food, whether it's sugar, artificial sweeteners, for some people, gluten, dairy. Um, there are more out there. I'm just rattling these off as I'm thinking about them, but those anti-inflammatory foods, they're really easy to introduce, especially accidentally when you're on the road. Being mindful of that, experimenting with your diet, seeing how you feel, giving an actual like 7 to 10 days is a good way to find out what foods are fueling you and what foods are actually hurting you. But with that, um, on the topic of calories in, calories out, I've got a video from Dr. Fung. If you've never heard of him, I definitely recommend the book, The Obesity Code by Dr. Jason Fung. I think it's a phenomenal book that a lot of people, a lot of people can learn from, whether they need the nutrition aspect, whether they need to just simply understand how their body works, but it provides an aspect to how the body works. And so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to bring this up, share my screen, make sure I have this up for you here and let you guys check this out. Hopefully you guys are able to see that I have YouTube up right now. That's not the one that it's supposed to be on though. Let's see. I literally, you know what happened? I closed the window because I didn't want it to be a distraction. So I pulled this up so it would be ready for us. We're gonna have to watch an ad. All right, calories in, calories out.
It's everything you wish for. Site traffic is skyrocketing until this happens.
Are you guys able to see that well?
Ideal site on flat.
What about the calories in, calories out model? You hear a lot of this. Well, it's the first law of thermodynamics, for example. It's all about calories in, calories out. There's a fundamental flaw in that. So, the basic equation that people use, which is the energy balance equation, is that fat gain, for example, equals calories in minus calories out. So, that's always true. That's that's always true. But it doesn't mean that you can take that next step and say to lose weight, you simply need to reduce your calories. So I call that the caloric reduction as primary because there's a huge assumption in that. If you look at the energy balance model, fat gained equals calories in minus calories out. If you drop your calories in, but your calories out drops at the same time, then you're not going to lose any fat, despite the fact that you've actually reduced the number of calories that you eat. So, if you look at all the studies that have been done over the past century, so even 100 years ago, we've known this. They took study patients and they reduced their calories that they consume by 30%, keeping roughly the same foods that they eat and so on. And then they measured the effect on the calories out, which is predominantly basal metabolic rate, which is not exercise, but the energy that's needed to keep your heart pumping and keep the lungs working and the liver detoxifying and the kidneys working and the brain functioning. That's all basal metabolic rate. So if you reduce the number of calories you consume, what happens is that the number of calories you expend also goes down. So if you look at the energy balance equation, fat gain equals calories in minus calories out. The minute you drop calories in by 30%, your calories out drops by 30%. So therefore, you don't lose weight in the long term. And that's the problem. So recent studies, and this was done in a show called The Biggest Loser. So as a game show where they pit contestants to lose weight. What was very interesting was that they measured the energy expenditure of these contestants after they had lost all this weight. And what they found was that the amount of calories they're burning day to day has dropped quite significantly by over 700 calories per day. So if you used to burn, say, 3,000 calories, but now you're burning 2,300 calories, that's a huge burden for you to overcome if you're trying to lose weight, because you have to continually keep cutting your calories down. And again, that matches perfectly with the clinical experience, which is what happens when you try to reduce your calories. So suppose you start with a 2,000 calorie a day diet and you burn in 2,000, but now you want to lose some weight. So you go down to 1,500 calories a day. What happens is that your body is not so stupid as to continue burning 2,000 calories a day. It's just like an energy deficit that it's not going to have. If you continue to burn 2,000 calories a day, you'd lose weight, lose weight, lose weight, and then you'd die. The body doesn't want to do that. So if you're only going to take in 1,500, your body immediately reduces its energy expenditure to 1,500 calories. So what happens is that you feel more tired, you feel cold, you feel hungry, you feel sluggish. And that's what everybody feels like when they're on a diet. But the worst
Mm-hmm.
part is that the weight gain eventually stops and then it starts to come back because your body actually goes a little bit lower. So that's the problem with this whole calories in, calories out model, is that they assume that the calories out and the calories that you take in are completely independent, but they're actually not. When you drop the one, you drop the other, and that's why those diets are actually doomed to fail. In fact, we know this because for the past 100 years, every single study that has done this has shown that there's no lasting weight loss, and again meshes perfectly with all of our personal experience, which is that people don't lose weight using that sort of calorie reduction strategy.
Mm-hmm.
What are your guys' thoughts on that? One, does it make sense? And you can unmute if you need to. Robin, what do you think? I see you're muting, unmute. Okay, you're unmuted. There you go.
Okay. It makes a lot of sense. Being the journey that I've been through, they don't have me counting calories at all
Good.
because that's not what I have to focus on. Like they have just up your protein and that kind of stuff. So and I ask all the time, is there a certain number of calories I should hit? And they're like, no. So
That's
it makes
awesome.
a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But we continue to have this problem. And this video popped up in my feed, and it was such an easy share because, again, how many people do we
Mhm.
know that have been taught, you need to work out more and eat less. I'm not going to say that the eating doesn't matter, because one of the things he was very, very clear about, given that they maintain a relatively similar diet,
Mm-hmm.
then their body adjusts. But that's a very abbreviated version of him not talking about the fact that when you turn on the insulin response, which is another probably 3 or 4 minute video. If you would be interested in learning more, I can drop the 3 or 4 minute video in the chat. But understanding why our insulin is responding the way that it is, that is probably the most important thing that we can do for our nutrition. And I remember, I don't even remember how it came up in conversation the other day, but somebody that I was speaking with, talking about my grandma, and I'm little. My grandma passed away. Yeah, I was probably like eighth grade. I always remember going to Pittsburgh. I don't remember her walking around very much. Grandma was she was a type 2 diabetic. She had diabetes at that time. Grandma was on a fixed income. There was whatever it was that was going on, but I will always remember as a kid, it scared the heck out of me that she had to take a shot. And there were only a couple times that I ever saw her doing it. But to recognize that some people had to do that to survive. And now to be at like 43 years old and to hear friends who are actually within our community, in our plexus community,
Mhm,
talking about their wife administering insulin to middle
mhm,
school kids because they're type 2
mhm,
diabetics,
mhm,
we've fallen off the right path. Um,
mhm.
and so I thought that was a great video. Kristen, what are your thoughts on that video? If I can put you on the spot, I hope you don't mind.
Um, do I have my speaker on?
You do,
Mhm.
yes.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's
Didn't
okay.
realize. Um, so I thought the beginning of it was interesting as far as calorie in, calorie out. Years ago I worked with a trainer, and that is really what he stressed: calorie in, calorie out, not decreasing your calories of what you're eating, but of actually keeping track of what you're taking in
Yeah.
to what you are exercising, or what you're, I don't know how to
Mhm.
explain it, like releasing then for the calories out.
Just keeping it perfectly balanced, maybe?
Yes.
Okay. So that's one of the biggest things that we've been told, right? And I think the FDA recommends, or whoever, they recommend a 2,000 calorie a day diet on average. Um, if you miss that by 40 calories a day, over the course of the year, you will gain 4 pounds every single year, which isn't horrible if you think about it. But that's only 40 calories a day. So if you're gaining 4 pounds a year on average, which actually in our American culture right now isn't horrible, um, that means that you only went 40 calories over. It's kind of hard to imagine that on any given day, most people averaged 2,040 calories. Like that's such an exact number. Um, Scientifically, yes, a calorie will heat. Help me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong. Like 1 gram of water, 1 degree Celsius. Um,
I believe that's correct.
okay, so that's exactly what it does. But we also expel waste at the end of the day, and hopefully not just at the end of the day, as we need to, as our body needs to. There are calories in there that can escape without being consumed by our body and turned into fat. Um, So I really wanted to highlight that, particularly as we have a lot of people in this group who are working on intermittent fasting right now. And I emphasized it's good to try and get in the calories that you need to maintain function. Um, Crystal put up a great testimony in the group this week. If you missed it, please go back, take a look. She wrote up her
Mhm,
experience and I loved it. But one of the things that she said just a few comments before that, no headaches,
mhm,
none of the crashing, none of the fatigue, none of that during intermittent
mhm,
fasting. And that's one of the biggest differences in our body is fasted or our body is starving, which if
mhm,
you ever watched The Biggest Loser, those people are starving. And it's really kind of jacked up because many of them, I think there have actually, I read it somewhere and I didn't dig so deep into it tonight, but I want to say that there have actually been at least one or two lawsuits because of the injury caused to the people during Biggest Loser. Once your body gets to that point of starvation and that point of caloric deficit,
mhm.
it will at least almost always store fat in very particular ways, and you will never be able to break free of that. It's kind of like a heat injury. Um, so with that, I wanted to share that little bit. How are you guys doing on the intermittent fasting challenge? And Brenda, I think I've seen your post in there also. Are you doing that with us?
Yes.
How, so we have everybody in here is doing IF.
Mhm.
Thoughts, feelings, what's good, what's not so good? Talk to me. Brenda, how about I start with you? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah, I had a feeling you were going to do that.
Yep.
Um, it's good. Um, 'Cause I stop eating after dinner time, and then I've been trying to push in the mornings, like add an extra hour to a half an hour every day, like to make it the longer gap time. So I
Mhm.
Okay.
stop eating after 6:30 in the evening, and then but since it's summertime and I'm still at home, I'm able to push till like 10 o'clock, 10:30 until I break my fast.
Nice. So you're
Now, when
doing, you're
school
at
goes back,
16.8.
that's different.
Yeah.
But
It'll
yeah.
be challenging. Is there anybody that's gone beyond the 16? Well, how does 16.8 feel?
I'm doing 16.8 myself, although sometimes I can push it a little bit more.
Okay.
Um, the other day though, I had to actually do it earlier because I had such a headache and I guess my blood sugar had dropped. Because as soon as I ate, I felt better then.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for the most part, it's not that hard at all. But
It
I'm
really
kind of the
isn't.
same with Brenda. That's right now that I'm home, I can eat when I want, but once school goes back, that'll change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit tricky for the teachers, and I know we've heard that before.
Mhm.
I'm gonna touch on the reset with that real quick. Christine, I'm gonna call on you because I haven't gotten a call on you yet. What has your experience been? I know we're doing it very much side by side, but when we get up in the morning, we have our own unique morning routine. Independent, not unique.
Independent. Yeah. Um, it's honestly, it's been fine for me. I was doing the 16/8. Um, there was one day that I woke up and I was just like, I really want some coffee today just because I wanted it. So I had some before that time was up. Um, I think honestly for me, a 14 or 15 hour would be better because I feel like when it's getting to that 16, I'm I just feel like my blood sugar needs something to eat. So I'd rather not get to that point
Yeah.
of being desperate for food. So,
Mhm.
and I'm also trying not to be so black and white with myself as well. It's, if you don't hit the 16-hour, you've done it all wrong type of mindset. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, give it some play there if I need it.
And
Mhm.
that's all good. We need to do that. Has anybody tried that homemade electrolyte recipe that I shared the other day? I will start that I have not. That came from our friend Joanna. So I will try that. I'll go ahead and get the ingredients and give you guys a review of that. I absolutely respect Juana, uh, and her opinion, her expertise on all things fasting. She has led, I feel comfortable saying she's led thousands of people in learning how to fast, and that's her recipe. Um, Personally, there have been a couple mornings that I ended up grabbing a hydrate, and I know looking around, I think most everybody in here has done a reset now. Starting out with a hydrate, yeah, it's not quite a clean fast at all. But I will tell you, I had one this morning right when I would have been breaking my fast, and I went for another 2 hours and I wasn't even hungry. I just figured that I better eat something so I wouldn't be so far off schedule.
Mhm.
And I'm not looking to do one meal a day or OMAD as it's known. Um, I do want to offer something to you guys as we're doing intermittent fasting, and there are a few people that I've shared this with in person, but for those who have a reset, a lot of people love the reset, the mindfulness, the benefit of it, and just the way it works. And I probably mentioned this on a call just a few weeks ago as well. But with the reset, one of the concepts that was shared with us is you can break it up over 3 weeks by having one meal a day or one reset box a day, excuse me, one meal. So that would be, let's say last night your fast started at 7 p.m. and you do the reset the following day and you do it just as prescribed on that day for the box. One reset box a week. Yes, that's what I mean. Thank you. Um, So you're doing that 1 day's worth of reset. Let's say you do it on Sunday. So I finished up my reset today, notionally speaking. I drank my Restore, it's 8 o'clock. Tomorrow morning, I would break my fast as late as I could. So if I went from essentially 7 p.m. on Saturday to noonish on Monday, there's a whole lot of benefit in there. Um, if you go into if you go into the fasting app, depending on if you were using easy fasting, I know there's another one out there that friends are using, but you start looking at like 12 to 18 hours, now you're burning fat. You get in 18, 24 hours, you're in ketosis. You can measure that if you would like. You can get little strips that you pee on, and it'll tell you if your body's in ketosis. Not a bad thing if you want to measure and see how you're doing. Um, 24 to 48 hours, you're in the autophagy phase. And that's where at the cellular level, your body is cleaning itself. Um, we know people who have done that. We have friends who have tried that. If it's something that you're considering, if trying to figure out like 3 days for the reset doesn't work, and you're feeling good with the IF and you want to give that a shot, try it. See what happens. Let us know. And just plan on doing that 1 day a week combined with intermittent fasting. Now, I feel it's kind of important to say, like, if you're intermittent fasting, make sure that you're eating a clean diet. Um, and I'm a huge fan of steak. I'm a huge fan of eggs, all the good vegetables. If you can get organic, please get organic. Get the stuff that hasn't been treated with all the chemicals that are going to destroy your digestive system. Um, and it's that simple. So I wanted to share those things with you guys tonight. I know Kristen she bailed. What questions do you guys have for me? And Mary, I'm glad you could jump on and join us.
Yeah, me too. I was having technical difficulties for a long time with my phone.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah,
Well,
so
tell you
I got
what,
it working, but I'm super late. So sorry.
this entire thing will be recorded. I'm gonna have it up on YouTube tomorrow. Um, oh, we got Kristen back. So when it comes down to it, being mindful of the quality of the food is much better than the quantity when it comes to calories. Uh, Keeping up with the intermittent fasting, I've found there are a few days that I went 17 to 18 hours and it just felt good. You know, if you want to do it, if you want to challenge yourself, go for it. There have been days that I was hitting the 16-hour mark and I'm like, thank God I can finally eat now. And I know we've only been going at this for a week, but hopefully it's getting a little bit easier for you guys. You feel a little bit more confident, a little bit more comfortable if it's your first time doing it. And with that, if there are no questions, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.